Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, well, it's pretty simple. We take the source materials you're interested in, and we pull out the key knowledge you need fast.
Basically a shortcut to getting really informed.
Exactly. And today we're diving into the events that unfolded right after that much talked about TV debate between Jasmine Crockett and Karoline Leavitt.
Right. And the material we're using, it's a dramatized account. It's inspired by real issues, real figures, you know? So while the characters, the dialogue, it's fictionalized for the story. The frustration, the injustice it depicts, that's drawn from reality. It's bigger than just these two people.
Got it. So let's unpack the scene. It kicks off in this stark, bright studio setting.
Yeah, and the buzz around this roundtable was huge. It was trending everywhere, which really shows you how much public interest there was.
And the source paints a vivid contrast right from the start, doesn't it? How they presented themselves.
Oh, definitely. You have Karoline Leavitt, crisp in a blood-red blazer, you know, very polished, media-trained.
Looks the part.
Totally. Confident. Even making these little jokes about maybe not enough substance and hoping for popcorn. It suggests she's seeing it partly as, well, a performance.
And then there's Jasmine Crockett. The description is like still water.
No stylist, just calm, taking her time with the mic. And interestingly, looking at the people in the room, not playing to the cameras.
The entrances too, Caroline, like a storm. Jasmine like steady weather. Sets up a real difference in their whole approach.
And that initial exchange is telling.
Yeah.
Karoline does her standard monologue, personal responsibility, you've heard it before.
Right.
Jasmine just gives this quiet, almost knowing smile, like, okay, I see where this is going.
And then Caroline gets sharper, starts questioning if Jasmine's policies even have depth. The moderator turns to Jasmine.
Yeah, expecting a rebuttal, maybe a defense.
And this is where it gets good. Jasmine's response. So simple, so direct. I bring receipts, but go on.
Boom! And that pause she leaves hangs in the air. It flips the script, you know?
It really does. It's a challenge. You talk, I've got the proof.
Exactly. And Karoline tries to regain control, right? Makes that sarcastic comment.
Yeah, about Jasmine bringing feelings at a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
There's even some, like, awkward laughter.
But Jasmine doesn't bite, doesn't flinch. That composure is key here. One's using rhetorics, the other's leaning on facts.
It's amazing. Just that steady look, and she repeats it. I bring receipts, but go on. Like, go ahead, dig yourself deeper.
And the silence that follows is deafening. Karoline doesn't have a quick comeback.
And the online reaction the source mentions, she didn't even blink. Karoline came to perform, Jasmine came to win, shows how fast perception shifted.
It really does. Sometimes saying less or just repeating that core point is incredibly powerful. It suggests confidence in your position.
So what happens next? Backstage, the difference is even more stark.
Totally. Karoline's team, they're all about the sound bites, the social media plan, how to spin it immediately.
And Jasmine.
Described as calm, collected, almost like the debate itself wasn't the main event for her. She says something like, she did what she needed to do, but that doesn't mean I didn't.
Implying her work was something else entirely.
Exactly, because what does she do? Opens her laptop, right there.
Straight to work.
Straight to work on this dense and detailed legislative proposal about housing instability. And the key thing is, this wasn't cooked up because of the debate.
Ah, so it was already in motion.
Precisely. It highlights that difference again, reacting versus driving an agenda based on, well, actual policy work.
And the proposal isn't just vague ideas, is it?
Not at all. It gets right into the weeds, rising eviction rates, those awful delays in voucher programs, and it uses real numbers, source data.
Like what?
Things like the median processing time for Section 8 vouchers, the holdups veterans face with VA housing benefits, shelter capacity issues, real measurable problems.
And it uses stories to illustrate that data.
Yes. Powerful ones mentioned in the source. There's Alonzo, a former Marine evicted because of VA paperwork delays. His quote is just heartbreaking. I did everything right, but when I needed help, all I got was silence. And Julia, a nurse, living with her family in one room because the voucher system is so backlogged, it puts a human face on the numbers.
So Jasmine's work here is presented as organizing that chaos, not just telling sad stories.
Exactly. Building a funding model, proposing actual reforms, and that internal thought the source gives her, this is what she called a performance. No, this was the real work. It really nails her perspective.
It's about substance over style, fundamentally.
Right. And how she releases it is also very different. No big press conference.
No fanfare.
Nope. Quiet, late-night emails to specific legislative directors with very clear instructions. Committee, council, budget, oversight, and, crucially, No leaks yet. Not until I say go.
That's very deliberate. Calculated.
Totally contrasts with Caroline's team, who are probably blasting clips out immediately. Jasmine's playing a longer game, focused on the legislative process.
Does it get noticed? Even released quietly like
It
that?
starts to, yeah, like ripples. A junior analyst at the Philly Inquirer picks it up, an assistant editor in Dallas, a researcher at Face the Nation.
So, not a huge splash, but finding the right eye.
Exactly. It's the substance pulling people in, not hype. Genuine curiosity.
And this starts changing the online conversation.
It does. That original debate hashtag starts morphing. People add Crockett plan, real receipts. The focus shifts from the performance to the proposal itself.
People are actually looking at it.
Yes, and analysts are commenting things like, quietly devastating and written for the families, not the cameras. That really says something about its impact.
Meanwhile, Karoline is still pushing the debate clips.
Right. But the curiosity about Jasmine's actual plan is growing underneath.
And where's Jasmine in all this? Is she promoting it?
Nope. The source puts her in a community center in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, actually.
Doing what?
Reviewing intake forms,
Yeah,
just doing the work. Her quote to Politico when they asked where the proposal came from was basically, where did this come from? Like, surprised by the attention.
Almost like the work is just normal for her.
Yeah, her aide even notes, the media storm is brewing, but Jasmine's just doing what she always does. Work. Unwavering focus.
So when Karoline shows up on TV again, how does she handle this proposal that's gaining traction?
You can see the strain, according to the source. She tries to dismiss it, calls it emotional, just sad stories and spreadsheets.
But does that stick?
It starts to sound weak, especially as news outlets begin verifying Jasmine's data.
The verification step. That's crucial.
Absolutely. Reuters, NPR, Politico, they all dig in and confirm the numbers, the VA backlog she cited, the funding ideas, the receipts check out.
So her claims are validated independently.
Right. And that makes Caroline's dismissal look, well, out of touch.
And Jasmine's response to all this verification.
Another quiet, powerful moment. Outside that shelter, she just says, a good soundbite dies in a day. Policy lives longer.
Oof, that's potent.
And it spreads like wildfire. People get it. Memes even start popping up, contrasting Caroline's words with data points from Jasmine's bill.
So the narrative is really shifting online and in the media.
Definitely. And back in D.C., Jasmine just keeps working. The source talks about this PR mirror effect.
What's that?
It's like Caroline's attempts to dismiss the proposal actually end up highlighting the very problems Jasmine is trying to fix. She's inadvertently making Jasmine's case.
That's ironic.
Isn't it? And then comes the leak.
The audio clip.
Right. Karoline, at a fundraiser in Charleston, caught on tape sounding pretty dismissive of voters.
What does she say?
Things like, these people don't care about substance, and implies they can't even fill out basic forms without help. Pretty damaging stuff.
Wow, that's going to land badly.
Immediately, local radio picks it up. Facebook groups in the community she seemed to be mocking just erupt.
And Jasmine's reaction this time?
Initially, silence again. Strategic silence, maybe. Then, when pressed, she gives another incredibly concise, impactful statement.
Which is?
I'd rather fix problems than comment on mistakes.
That's brilliant. Simple, direct, stays on message.
And it goes viral. People really respond to that focus on solutions over negativity.
So Karoline's now on the defensive in her media appearances.
Increasingly so, yeah. Meanwhile, Jasmine's pictured visiting a transitional housing center in Baltimore. The visual contrast is powerful.
And there's an op-ed.
Yeah, in The Atlantic. The headline says it all. While one shouts, the other builds. It really captures that divergence.
And amidst all this noise, the actual bill is moving.
Quietly, yes, but significantly. It passes the House Subcommittee on Housing and Community Development.
That's real progress.
And it even gets a Republican vote. The source calls it real procedural undeniable movement. It might not make huge headlines initially.
But it matters on the ground.
Exactly. Local news covers it. You hear from constituents like a teacher in South Dallas saying, feels like someone finally listened. That's the impact.
And people are engaging with the bill itself now, not just the headlines.
Yeah, that's a key point. People are reading it, quoting sections, sharing it, talking about how it applies to them. It's become tangible.
How does Jasmine react to the subcommittee win? Big celebration.
Not really. The source shows her focusing on a letter from a constituent, her instruction to her team. Find this man. Get him a meeting.
Still focused on the individual impact.
Consistently. While Karoline's shown isolated, worried, in her campaign office, her advisors are apparently telling her they need more than sound bites now.
The tide has turned.
Seems like it. Jasmine and her team, they're already working on implementation timelines, looking ahead.
Then there's the hearing on the proposal itself. How does that go?
There's a definite shift when she speaks. It's not just abstract policy. She talks about the real impact on veterans, working moms, students.
Bringing those stories back.
Yes, and she calls the current system silent cruelty wrapped in paperwork. Powerful phrasing. And again, that silence afterwards suggests it landed heavily.
And she keeps up the community visits.
Oh yeah, goes to St. Mark's Community Center in Akron, Ohio. Again, no big press crew, just listening.
Like that interaction with the elderly woman.
Exactly. The woman shares her story, maybe downplaying it a bit, and Jasmine says, maybe, but I want to hear you say it. Just validating her experience. A photo of that quiet moment circulates.
Reinforcing that image of genuine connection.
Right. While Karoline's media spots get increasingly tense, she's trying to defend her old statements against the reality of Jasmine's verified, progressing bill.
The sound bites aren't working anymore.
People aren't just listening to those anymore. They're looking at the substance, the bill, the verified facts. The focus has shifted.
And the engagement is organic.
Very much so. Questions at town halls, emails flying around, discussions in community centers. It's not top down, it's bubbling up.
Even changing minds in D.C.
Apparently so. Even cynical operatives are noting Jasmine's discipline, her effectiveness. It's making an impression.
Which leads to the full House vote.
Described with quiet tension. Jasmine gives this direct address, speaking for the people, often left out. And then the vote happens. It passes.
How does she react then?
Understated again. As she's leaving the Capitol, a reporter asks for a final word, and she says,
What?
There was never supposed to be a last word, just better ones.
Wow. That really sums up her whole approach. Continuous work, not final victories.
Exactly. And in the aftermath, the headlines fade, sure, but the impact is deeper. Her method becomes a case study.
In policy, in leadership.
Yeah, inspiring educators, changing minds among insiders. And you see, the real world affects the bill, helping a single dad, inspiring a student.
And Jasmine.
Still just focused on the work, not claiming ownership of the narrative, not looking for praise.
It really drives home that final idea from the source.
True leadership isn't a moment, it's a method. Shifting from performance to purpose.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems pretty clear. It's about the power of substance, right? Of doing the homework, being prepared, and letting the work itself speak.
Absolutely. That quiet, consistent action ultimately proved more powerful than the loudest soundbite. Her silence wasn't passive, it was strategic.
Yeah, it allowed the focus to shift to the policy, the receipts. We hope this deep dive gave you, our listener, a really clear picture of those dynamics, the key insights without getting bogged down.
And it leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? For you listening, what does real leadership look like to you? Has digging into this story maybe shifted how you think about effective action, whether it's politics or, anything else? Is it the noise or the focused work that really matters in the end?
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll explore more soon.